The news desk at Network in Jerusalem sent me out to the Bethlehem affiliate because they had an important news story that was breaking. I love working behind the camera because if you get the shot just right, you tell a whole new story.
You'll make anchor of the nightly news in 5 years. Well, that was 6 years ago. I'd always complain, what a lousy job. But after that night, you could say I'm thankful I'm still stuck doing investigative interviews.
They told me I'd learn what it was like to work in the newsroom. And the best way to learn was memorizing people's coffee orders. I'd been delivering double-shot Turkish espressos and goat milk lattes all night long.
I'll never forget the night we set up and interviewed Joe, a shepherd from Judea. I was setting up the camera, the lighting, and he just couldn't stop talking about his experience.
I'd been an intern for 2 months when I heard Joe tell his story. I knew I needed to make my deliveries, but I just stood there, captivated, as the simple man told the world how his life was changed.
Before I even walked into the room, my producers warned me about Joe. We didn't know if he was a credible witness or just another poor shepherd trying to make a few shekels by telling a tall tale.
It's when he talked about the angels who appeared to him. There was a mixture of fear but awe in his voice. Me? I would have been fumbling with my camera trying to get the good shot, but not Joe. He just took it all in, listening carefully to the angel's announcement about the birth of the Messiah and instructions on where to find him.
But I knew Joe was being sincere. When Joe talked about the peace that the angels were announcing, it was like he'd received perfect peace. I've been looking for that same peace my whole life.
I think it was the way he described the sky that first grabbed me. A sunset at midnight? Can you even imagine? It was the middle of the night, but all the angels glowed with the colors of the sun. There were so many of them it was almost blinding.
As Joe was talking about finding the baby in Bethlehem, that's when I knew I was witnessing history. God had come to an ordinary shepherd, an average Joe. And through that shepherd, God was making himself known to me. In that moment, I put aside any job aspirations about being an anchor and dug into that interview. I'd never been so engaged by a story like I heard unfolding before me.
I could just picture Joe kneeling down in that stable, right in the hay. And as he looked at the Christ child, he had tears in his eyes. He couldn't stop telling Mary and Joseph that he had witnessed a whole company of angels telling him where Jesus Christ was born.
What I wouldn't have given to be filming the exact moment the shepherds saw Jesus the first time. Fortunately, Joe came forward to tell us what had happened. Otherwise, we may never have known. My life will never be the same. It's hard to believe how many people I've told about Jesus since then.
No matter if I'm an intern or make it as a reporter, hearing about the birth of Jesus was the best night of my life. If God could use Joe to tell others, he could certainly use me to tell the story about Jesus' birth.
We showed that story over and over, and other news stations picked it up. I'll never forget what I said to wrap up the interview for our viewing audience. That's the shepherd story this Christmas Eve, live from Bethlehem. And that's a story worth telling.
All right, people, that's a wrap.